William Gloucester once wrote, "When you study great teachers, you will learn much more from their caring and hardworking than their style." That's very true. Our dreams begin with them. They are the very early facilitators. Thus, the World Teachers' Day is created to commemorate teachers globally since the 2nd October 1994. UNESCO takes this day as a significant token of the awareness, understanding, and appreciation displayed that teachers make education and development. For our special program on this day, we have invited guests from UNESCO's International Institute for Capacity Building in Africa. Stay tuned with me, Brandon Taddeson, to have the whole interview. Dear listeners, you're always 105.3 Afro FM, and for today we have a very special program and also some guests at our studio, and they will start introducing themselves.
Well, I'm Irene Rabinour. I'm a senior program specialist at UNESCO-IICBA.
Yes, sir.
My name is Samet Chenyingda, program officer for ICTs in education at UNESCO.
My name is Awal Idris, and I also work for UNESCO-IICBA as a teacher education and curriculum development program officer.
Great. To begin with, about the World Teachers' Day, what is your idea when you think of teachers? So you do remember your own teachers, starting from the parents, from the neighbors, of course the environment. We can also take the formal kind of education. Who is a teacher and who's not a teacher?
I think we're all teachers, actually. We're all teachers, just that maybe we are teachers in higher education. So we feel very much concerned, personally, of course, institutionally as well.
We all have been teachers, in fact, teacher educators, International Institute for Capacity Building in Africa, which is concerned about teachers.
Yes, to answer the question, that's going to be a topic for a much longer discussion. We are concerned about teachers at all levels of education, from early childhood and education to primary, secondary, and tertiary. The particular focus of the institute might be on general education,
of course,
but then higher education.
Hoping that our audience have their own base teachers and they're having someone ever since the 1994. Then every year on October 5, and the UN agencies, ministries of education, teacher unions, and the education community in general observe World Teachers' Day. I think that's true.
Yes.
Briefly tell us what the motivations were for the launch of this World Teachers' Day and who was behind this decision.
Well, we work for UNESCO-IICBA. UNESCO stands for United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. So education comes first. Since teachers are thought to be very important in the quality of education, there was a recommendation in 1966 about the status of teachers, how well motivated they should be by being provided with good salaries to start with, that they should be able to develop professionally, to get good pre-service training and in-service training, etc. And then also there was another recommendation in 1997 by UNESCO about the status of teachers in higher education. The first one in 1966, it was with ILO, the International Labour Organization, and it was about teachers in general. But in 1997 it was about teachers in higher education in particular.
World Teachers' Day is a UNESCO initiative. They devoted to appreciating, assessing, and improving the educators of the world. Unfortunately, teachers are not well recognized these days, particularly in terms of their incentives and salaries and status as well. So the World Teachers' Day is a particular initiative in order to bring to the attention of governments, ministries, and the people at large to push the agenda of teachers as most important.
How are you going to push that one then?
By making on this particular day, the UNESCO and other partners, in collaboration with the ministries of education and governments, organize a kind of conference. For instance, tomorrow will be in Ambo University with the Ethiopian Teachers Association. In fact, the minister himself will be there, I believe. And we raise issues that are related to teachers so that governments can take up and make policy decisions and other necessary actions.
Yes, as you would agree, the issue of good quality education is an issue that nearly all countries are concerned with. And when we talk about quality education, we have to also talk about quality teachers. Right. So in order for countries to have quality education, they need to have properly trained teachers, properly deployed teachers with proper career development schemes, built into the system, and their welfare should also be taken care of. So the World Teachers' Day is a platform. It's a day specifically devoted to advocate on teacher issues, bringing out concerns of teachers and also their role in the quality of education existing in a particular country. So this is a very global day, and the point and purpose of it is to make sure that countries recognize, value the contribution of teachers and do what they can to make them productive players in the education system.
By the mention of the proper kind of education, proper teaching, are we saying that there are improper ways of teaching too? And why do these things happen then?
Yes, of course. Nothing is perfect anyway, but teachers need to be updated, if I may say so. They need to know about the new ways of teaching using ICTs, and there I think I'd rather give the floor to my colleague there. But generally speaking, what has been observed is that many children, even though they go to school, have not acquired the basic skills because of the lack of quality. That is why this World Teachers' Day is so important.
You can add some more.
Oh yeah, evidence-based, research-based teaching skills need to be incorporated into the teaching profession. For instance, earlier, some 50 years ago, the content only was the best thing for being a teacher. But research has shown that content has to be integrated with pedagogy. And now we are in the 21st century. It's not only pedagogy and content, but also the technology should also be incorporated into the teacher training program. So nowadays we say technologically, pedagogically, content-oriented teacher is needed, and that makes quality learning for the target students. So this, we believe, is a research and evidence-based approach towards making teaching a profession.
When it comes to quality of education, the teacher is one important component. Of course, for quality to be realized, there are other aspects of inputs also, textbooks, teaching materials, support materials for teaching and all the rest of it. There's a lot that's being done in this country in this regard, but the teacher component is also a very important component. And I think the World Teachers' Day and anything that's done on that day or on the days before and after is to highlight this particular aspect of the education system.
Now I want to take you to the ICBA. What is the institution, and what is with the teachers and the World Teachers' Day? What has the institute done to help African countries in meeting the EFA and MDG goals?
IICBA, so it's UNESCO's International Institute for Capacity Building in Africa. It was set up in 1999. UNESCO is firstly an organization of the United Nations. It is the member states that decide. It's not people who work for UNESCO. No. It's the member states. Now, the member states then decided to set up this International Institute for Capacity Building, but in Africa it's the only one in charge of capacity building in the world. Now, it is based in Africa. The idea is that it focuses on teacher education, teacher training. And Africa, of course, it is based in Addis Ababa. I suppose this is not just a coincidence. It is the headquarters of the African Union as well.
Any idea about ICBA?
Well, ICBA intended to work on capacity building of African member states in general. Because now teachers are priority of priorities for UNESCO, and Africa is also priority of UNESCO, the Institute is particularly working on teacher issues. So we, perhaps because of capacity constraints, we focus on teacher trainers, in how they train, manage these teachers, and how they train the pre-service and in-service teachers. So for this, we have the mandate to work for the entire African countries.
Yes, as has been pointed out by my colleagues, ICBA is located in Addis Ababa, but then it works for the whole of Africa, with greater focus on sub-Saharan Africa for understandable reasons, because the challenges of education in terms of teachers and other issues are very formidable in sub-Saharan Africa. But then because we have to think of the continent as one entity, and because also ICBA is working very closely with the African Union, we consider the whole 54 countries, as my colleague mentioned, with limited capacity in terms of staff and finance, the amount of work we do may not have been up to the level we would have liked it to be. Within that limited resource, ICBA is trying to do quite a bit.
As this institute, ICBA, is located in Ethiopia, it must have done something there of your concern. Then. Can you briefly tell us what you have been doing, especially in Ethiopia?
Yes, ever since ICBA started its operations in 1999, it was located within the Ministry of Education at Arat Kilo. And it was working very closely with the Ministry of Education. In relation to more recent activities that ICBA is doing in Ethiopia, I think we should mention two very important girls' education projects. The first one is supported by the very generous donation of the Italian government, $500,000. This is a project that ICBA is implementing in Afar and Benishangul Gumuz regional states, two emerging regions where the challenge of especially education in general, in girls' education in particular. So we are implementing a 3-year project with funding secured from the Italian government, for which we are very thankful in Afar and Benishangul Gumuz. And another similar project to be implemented in Gambella and Somali regions, and by the time this is done, the 4 emerging regions are covered. The Japanese government donated $400,000 through headquarters for a similar project like the one we're implementing in Afar and Benishangul Gumuz, but this time we're going to do it in Gambella and Somali regional states. These two projects targeting lower secondary education girls, like in grades 9 and 10, and it aims to reduce the dropout rate for girls because the dropout rate in these 4 emerging regions for girls is very high compared to the national average, and to also assist them in any way we can so that they would also be performing better in their studies. So we will be running gender-sensitive pedagogy training for teachers, girl-friendly school environment, so we provide training for school management staff. We also have an income-generating scheme built into it so that needy girls could be supported financially as well. So these 2 projects in these 4 regions, again, as I said, supported by the Italian government and the Japanese government, are very important. I should also mention another project called CIFIT, the Chinese Funds in Trust project, to the tune of close to $1 million for supporting teacher education institutions. And the 2 teacher education institutions chosen are Bahar Dar University Faculty of Education and the Hawassa College of Teacher Education, where we try to capacitate these teacher education institutions to be able to provide better training for teachers, not necessarily on a face-to-face basis, but also through distance mode and ICT mediated interventions. We are also very grateful to the Chinese government for providing this assistance to Ethiopia, and we're implementing it together with the UNESCO Addis Ababa Liaison Office. In fact, the Chinese government had earlier too donated $750,000 for activities that ICBA is implementing in Africa. So we have had these associations with the Chinese government, and ICBA is very grateful for these 3 countries. And ICBA has sponsored a number of programs for Ethiopian teacher educators. We could mention, for example, Advanced Certificate in Educational Management that ICBA sponsored with the University of UNISA, South Africa. Some 7 federal universities. I may not remember all, but I know Addis Ababa University, Bahar Dar, Dilla, Alamaya, and Jimma were partner universities in this particular program, and over 120 people benefited from that program. But then there have also been other programs. Notable among these is, I think, the Master of Education or Master of Arts in the teaching of maths and science that ICBA implemented in Ethiopia in partnership with the Addis Ababa University. In fact, we went into an agreement with the Addis Ababa University to provide the initial support in terms of materials and tutorial support, so that eventually the program will be integrated and be part of the Addis Ababa University programs. We had graduated the first batch of about 2022 students from that program. But there have also been other programs, as I said. I would like to mention one particular contribution. ICBA, as part of the capacity building for education for all, a CAP-EFA program that UNESCO runs for many countries in the world, a greater proportion of which are in sub-Saharan Africa. As part of that program, ICBA has run 4 training sessions, one in Debre Zeit, one in Bahar Dar, one in Mekelle, and one in Hawassa, for all the teacher education institutions and faculties of education, high-level management staff in this country. And as a result of that intervention, about 143 colleagues working in faculties of education and also teacher education institutions have been trained in the modern ways of running a teacher education institution. We have a program called the Management of Teacher Education Institutions. So that's one very good example intended to cover the whole of the country.
Thank you, Your Excellency. About the high studies points.
He mentioned the Master of Education or Master of Art in Science and Mathematics teaching. That program has been extended by the Addis Ababa University into its own Master's and PhD program. Now they are running those kinds of, although it's not exactly the same program that we gave, but now in a more systematized way. Another program that we offered as a support to Ethiopia is a Master of Arts in ICT education. In this, many participants enrolled in the program have graduated, and I believe a department in the business education has now taken it as in a refined form as a master's program. Another program is Master of Education in Critical Practitioner Inquiry that we did in collaboration with Sweden, Umeå University, and in which almost all federal universities were involved in the program. So they graduated with that kind of action-oriented research kind of program. We have also offered a number of postgraduate diploma in distance education program for at diploma, as at postgraduate, as well as at master's level. And many Ethiopians have benefited from those programs. So we have been into the teaching. Of course, we also trained the Minilik Secondary School teachers in collaboration with Microsoft Ethiopia in how they incorporate information and communication technology in the teaching learning process.
Okay, well, you have given us quite a bit of information on that work that ICBA has done in Ethiopia. Can you also tell us some of the activities you have carried out in Africa? As you said, ICBA is working for the whole Africa.
In fact, previously we were going to individual countries to support their programs. Rwanda, Sierra Leone, Lesotho, Nigeria, Liberia, where the need is very important in the areas that we have been mentioning to you. So I can say this particular activity there, or that, for instance, the postgraduate diploma that we started in Ethiopia went to several countries in Africa. The Master of ICT in Education went to Sudan, now to Makerere University in Uganda, and also in Ghana, Cape Coast University. The Master of Postgraduate Program diploma was there. In addition to that, we have worked on ICT standards for Africa, and we were doing this at regional economic communities level, which the African Union has established, like the East African Community, the ECOWAS, the West Africa, SADC, the Southern Africa. So we brought many representatives from the Ministry of Education of that regional economic communities and engaged them in developing standards for their regional economic communities and finally synthesizing them for Africa, so that we contribute to Africa's integration from education point of view. And many other activities in the management of teacher education institutions and others have been done. And
just like my colleague mentioned, ICBA is mandated to work for the whole of Africa. But we have to be very honest. We don't have the resources in terms of finance and manpower to cover the whole of Africa in an extended depth kind of thing. And therefore, our interventions were limited to country-level activities, one-off interventions. But in the course of our work, internal debates and also stakeholder remarks now has led us into thinking in terms of regional economic groupings. This is how the African Union works. We have the West African Economic Community, we have the Central African Economic Community, we have the East African IGAD, as you know, and the SADC, the Southern Africa. So we have reoriented our activities towards intervening at sub-regional level. And with this, when we go into a sub-region, we take the whole of the countries in that sub-region together. Now, the limitation we have is following up on our activities and measuring whatever impact our interventions might have had. That is a big challenge still.
Why is still the challenge? Because Africa is taken as full of human resources. Maybe you can say there's another problem, but at least we have that one. And why is that still a challenge for you then?
Internal to ICBA, a capacity limitation. It calls
as an
itself
institute.
the International Institute for Capacity Building in
That's
Africa,
right.
but then its own capacity also is an issue. And as you said, Africa is endowed with a lot of both natural and human resources. So
Just to add a few points, because some of our colleagues are not here, we did not only on ICT and management, but also early childhood care and education, which is very important for Africa's education system. And we also have worked a lot on mainstreaming gender in teacher policies and teaching learning processes. So these are really what we contributed to the continent with all the limitations that the institute has.
You want to have some ideas?
Well, my colleague has just talked about early childhood care and education on the one hand and gender mainstreaming in teacher education on the other. But talking about the fact that Africa is rich, is wealthy of manpower, still there's an urgent need for 1 million teachers in Africa. And you see, that is why 1 million teachers, so not just a question of quality, but also of quantity.
Of course, worldwide, we need 5.24 million new teachers in the world.
And that's exactly why we need a day like World Teachers' Day to advocate for the training, deployment, and maintenance of good quality teachers.
As you've started talking about the World Teachers' Day, this year's theme is a call for teachers.
Yes.
What does it mean?
Well, you see, because teachers are hardly recognized, socially speaking, because they are poorly paid, so they are not really motivated, so many of them drop out. It's not just children who drop out of school, teachers too quit the profession. So how to retain them, how to motivate them? Education is considered as the foundation of development. But and yet we are faced with such an immense issue. So we need to call on them, on everybody, on donors as well, on societies, on the authorities, to take more care.
A call for teachers. For you.
Yeah, every year has its own kind of theme. For instance, in 2012, it was taking a stand for teachers. And now is a call for teachers. Overall, it's a matter of making aware governments, the society at large, that teachers are important and that they need to be quality teachers, that they need to be recognized as professionals, like the medical profession, that like the engineering profession and other professions.
There's nothing you can do without teachers.
Yeah, all the professions are getting through the teaching profession.
Yes.
So we bring some kind of themes that can attract people and donors and also partners, so that they can do really. By the way, UNESCO is doing all over the year about teachers. It is a kind of bringing together all those activities into one theme and one day, so that the world can take real action on the teaching profession.
Yes, a call for teachers simply means, it's coined to indicate the importance attached to teachers. There is nothing the education system can do without teachers. And therefore, a call for teachers, as my colleague Erin just said, in terms of number and in terms of the quality also. Because these two challenges, the challenge in terms of number and the challenge in terms of quality of teachers, is a live issue. So this year, UNESCO and partners have coined this team have decided to focus on these aspects of teachers for the sake of emphasis and focus.
It's been really a wonderful time. Before we finish off, there's anything that you want to tell the audience regarding to your institution, regarding to teachers?
Yeah, maybe I would say that fortunately it's not just UNESCO that cares about education and about teachers, since even the Secretary General of the United Nations launched a 5-year initiative last year, September 2012. He called it Education First, and they celebrated the first anniversary of that initiative lately. And even the World Bank president as well cares about education. So, I mean, hopefully there's also the heads of ILO, the International Labour Organization, of UNICEF, of UNDP, and of Education International. They co-signed the message of this World Teachers' Day. So if we all gather, if we join our forces, hopefully especially Africa will advance.
We need, everybody has to give attention to the teaching profession and the teachers. I remember teachers and teaching was a respected profession in Ethiopia some decades ago. But nowadays we know where it is. So my call for my Ethiopian colleagues and parents and the government at large is to bring back that teaching profession to where it used to be. That teachers be respected, that teachers be regarded as, our kids are staying most of their time with the teachers. So there is a need to respect those teachers who are educating our children.
I can say very little that has been said. Just like my colleague said, we give our kids first thing in the morning over to teachers, and we collect them late in the day, and they spend much less time with us than they do with the teachers. So who are these people? How are they looked after? How are they trained? How are their needs met? A country will have good quality education, which would translate then into good quality citizens through teachers. And that will have to be pointed out. The government has to consider this. The society, civil society organizations, and everybody that has a stake for the quality of education in this country should consider teacher issues very seriously.
It's been really a wonderful time talking to you. Hopefully we'll meet with another program for today. Let's say thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much. Masagnan.
It is very true that good teachers are costly. Hopefully you had a wonderful time. With this special program, I am Brahana Tadrisen, and I will leave you by dedicating the following entitled, You Have Made a Difference, for all the teachers.
This song is for those who inspire us today, who always lend a helping hand to help show us the way. This song is for those who see their students through the tough times in their lives. For that we say thank you. You have made a difference. You have shaped our minds. You have changed the world, one child at a time. You have always been there in everything you do. I hope that you're as proud of me as I am proud of you. This song is for those who heard the silent cries, who stepped in to wipe the tears from the children's eyes. For those who gave us a safe place to grow, a place for us to call our home. Forever we will know that you have made a difference. You have shaped our minds. You have changed the world, one child at those who taught us right from wrong, who taught us much more than their craft to help our minds grow strong. This song is for those who guide us through and through, so that we can make a life for that we say thank you. You have made a difference, you have shaped our minds, you have changed the world, one child at a time. You have always been there in everything you do. I hope that you're as proud of me as I am proud of you. As I look back on my life and to the path within my reach, I hope I can change the life of those that I teach. I can make a difference, all I do is try to see a different world through the children's eyes. And I will always be there in everything I do. I hope that you're as proud of me as I am proud of you. And I will always be there in everything I do. I hope that you're as proud of me as I am proud of you.